All right. Good morning, everybody, in the 42 Day Health Challenge from Evolution Health. I'm on my porch, and so is Nick, and we are coming to you live from those areas. So, we're going to do some questions about um, the upcoming week in the program. We're getting through the movement phase. We've done hydration, nutrition. So, the sleep, stress reduction, mindfulness part of the program is something I'm really excited about because I think it's a component that is missing from a lot of programs that are similar to this. So nutrition is important, movement and exercise is important. In general, people kind of get that. But this next part could be the missing component that people really need. So, you guys all got a email with an outline of kind of some key things um, that we're going to go over this week. But Nick and I are just going to kind of go over them line by line to see if we can get out some more information so we can answer some questions. But always feel free to post questions in the Facebook page and we'll be happy to answer those. So there's 5 main things that we work on, Nick, to kind of optimize sleep. So the first one is cut screen time 1 hour prior to your 10:30 bedtime or whatever your bedtime ends up if it ends up being before that. So let's talk about screen time and why it's important to eliminate that before you go to bed.
Right. So, actually, this is great because, Travis, you have the sun shining
I
on
know, it
your
just
face
came
right
up over
now,
the trees.
and the sun cooperated with us on this one. But morning sun, and even just throughout the day, offers what is actually blue light. Blue light is like just on the spectrum of lighting, and it stimulates the body. It stimulates our skin receptors, so everything like touching us, but it also stimulates eye receptors. And these are very sensitive to that whole scale of light. So a screen, so I'm looking at a screen right now, you're looking at a screen too, and that gives off a lot of blue light, which is very, very stimulating. We don't want that. We want red light late at night though, because or amber light, like just that more of that color on the spectrum, because that's going to calm us down. It's not going to be just amping us up as much, boosting our cortisol levels like the blue light does, and really just not allowing us to sleep. So getting rid of it the hour before the bedtime is really important. That's why, hey, getting off of the computer, getting away from the TV, getting away from just phones, tablets, all of the above are really important. And I put the 10:30 bedtime there too, because that's really like 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock are really the prime repair hours for the body. So it's really important to get those in. However, I know some people say, well, I'm already up till midnight. Like, I can't just fall asleep at 10:30. And don't try and jump into that all at once either. Do it like 15 minutes at a time. So if whatever your bedtime is, like if it's midnight, start off at 11:45. Make that a bedtime for 3 or 4 nights. Go to 11:30. Make that a bedtime for 3 or 4 nights. So this is a much easier way for your body to acclimate to that then as well.
Okay, so what if people are like, man, I just have to do something before bedtime to kind of wind down. If I'm used to going on my phone and checking out Facebook, what are other options for me to do before bedtime?
Okay, well, we talked about even just like the breathing practice, and we can go into a little more depth on that. But things like that, where it's just finding that breathing practice, finding that mindfulness practice, reading, I still think is a great one. Just hey, playing some cards, playing a game like with the family, like just trying something that's a little bit more easy from that standpoint, where it's not really getting you going as much, or even just preparing for the next day. Hey, maybe just writing out the tasks that you need to do. Talking about like, well, something we can discuss later too is just that identifying your primary stressor worksheet. Like, how are you going to be addressing that? That can be something to be done before bed, because hey, now you've put it down. Now it's out there. You don't have to keep thinking about that all night and really keeping your mind racing. Something else to even calm you down. Uh, that's when I like to take my cold shower, actually, personally. Really resetting for the body. Again, these are a lot of things, but I just try and do a little bit less. Maybe it's a little stretching. Maybe just anything to help start to relax the body. And
Okay,
a routine really makes it a lot easier, too.
okay, sounds good. Next one, sleep in complete darkness. Why is this important?
So, really kind of what we were talking about before, not letting in a lot of the artificial light. Unless you live way out in the country, which is fantastic, you probably have lights from your neighbors, lights from cars, just something going by. Uh, is this an easy thing to do? I mean, you need good shades, like good blackout shades for this. So this might not be something that you can do right away, but you can always put up a sheet. I've seen people do garbage bags. I mean, just anything to block that light, because it really can be that detrimental to just your body being able to produce the melatonin. I looked at actually studies where they take a pen light and they shine it on the back of the knee for just a few seconds, and it almost completely disrupts melatonin production in people. So this is just even in the skin receptors. So getting that darkness in the bedroom is fantastic. But that's not just from incoming light. That's any little lights like, hey, you look at your alarm clock. Make sure that it's covered. Make sure that it's facing down, facing away. Just anything to be blocking that. And just any lights on, like even smoke detectors. There's a lot of times like a flashing light on that. Just even putting like a little piece of electrical tape over that to help to stop that as well.
Okay. So even if we don't get the blackout shades right away, at least we can kind of get the little lights maybe on like a TV or the alarm
Exactly.
clock. Yeah. So that can
Yeah,
be,
trying to just get it as dark as you can with the resources that you have.
yeah. Okay. All right. You say there's only two things we should do in bed. What are those two things?
Sleep and sex. That
Okay.
is it. That means the biggest things that people are going to be doing other than that are reading and watching TV. But this brings an association into your brain. People say, you know what, I can't fall asleep without reading, or I can't fall asleep without watching TV. Well, that's because you trained your brain to think that when you get into bed, that's what you're supposed to do. And that's just, again, that habit that you formed. Now it stimulates all these other things in your brain, doesn't allow you to get that restful sleep, and causes a lot of other problems really then come the morning when you're groggy, when you're trying to get going again. So it's really just eliminate everything else. Hey, if you're watching TV, you're out in the living room or you're out in the den or whatever it is that you have. If you're reading, have your reading spot, but don't let those things be in a place where you're meant to be, bringing your body to a shutdown mode for the night.
Okay, we talked about this a little bit already, but just getting electronics out of the bedroom. Talk about the importance of that and what maybe some of the negative effects of having something plugged in or some kind of electronic near you when you're sleeping.
So electronics give off what's called like an EMF frequency, electromagnetic frequency. So this is very, very stimulating, very, very traumatic to the body. We talk about, if you look at like your 6 primary stressors worksheet, EMF is one of those primary stressors. Now, there are good forms of it. Like I'm looking out on the grass, the ground, even just like rocks, that type of thing. And those can be very beneficial. Like that's a very, very calming. It doesn't overstimulate the body again. But by having that phone plugged in right next to your head, especially if the Wi-Fi is not turned off, this is that Wi-Fi signaling is zapping back and forth, and this can be really causing a lot of different things with the brain waves going on too. And again, not allowing any of that restful sleep. But you have more and more things plugged in. So if you have your TVs, if you have like your computer plugged in your bedroom, and all of this, and I do mean plugged in. Like if it's unplugged or like the Wi-Fi is turned off and stuff like that, it's going to cause really much less harm. You can't take the electron or the wiring out of the outlets in the wall and this and that. But you do, again, we're talking about making the best changes that you can to not cause any of those other deleterious effects that really can stimulate the body, cause that over stress.
All right, the next one is something I probably found the most beneficial the first time I went through the program, which is no caffeine afternoon. So, talk about what happens when you do have caffeine afternoon in terms of sleep.
Okay. Yeah. So again, caffeine is not inherently a bad thing. However, caffeine is going to raise your cortisol levels. It's going to do a lot of things to your hormones. Now, caffeine also has what's called a half life. So after about 6 to 8 hours, if you have one single cup of coffee, and this is an 8-ounce cup of coffee that has 200 milligrams of caffeine, After that 8 hours, there's still 100 milligrams of caffeine rolling around in your bloodstream. After another 8 hours, there's still 50 milligrams, and so on and so forth. So there's still always is going to be some of this floating around. And when you try and go to sleep and you still have a lot of the caffeine rolling around there, your body is still not ready to calm down because caffeine causes that stimulating effect. So that's why, again, cutting it at noon allows you getting much and much less because it's allowed to be processed by the liver, be passed through the body, and it's not going to be causing really that cortisol spike that kind of wake me up, jack me up when trying to lay down and go to bed.
Okay. All right, so those are five components that I think are your pretty basic level, kind of easy stuff to conceptualize. What about a mindfulness practice or like a breathing practice? I think that might be something that not a lot of people have a experience with. So
Right.
let's talk about the importance of that a little bit.
So this is something that I've picked up over the last few years, and I've started studying more and more people that do this. People that are just in the top of their field, even just people with their families, just their moods, how they change in general. And it's absolutely incredible how transformative it can be. First, just talking about the breathing. People think, okay, it's something I do. 20, like the average person breathes 25,900 times a day. That's a lot of times to do something and to do so incorrectly. And most people don't recognize that they're really not breathing correctly. And then they say, oh, well, hey, my shoulders are always tight, like this and that. It's because they're just using all of these other muscles to breathe and they just can't relax. So getting that breathing pattern down properly, and that's something that you can do all day long. I mean, I know you probably do too. Like when you're working on patients, doing anything like that, you can notice sometimes your breathing pattern will change, and then it's okay. Regulate that, like I recognize it first, and that's just bringing that mindfulness to it, and then just calming it down, just relaxing into your normal breathing state. So that doesn't amp up what's called the sympathetic or fight or flight nervous system. Or I'm sorry, that does if you're breathing incorrectly, but you don't want that going all day. So we want to bring in the parasympathetic nervous system and it's just calm down, bring into just a normal calm state so that you're not, again, burning through all the cortisol, the adrenaline just all day, where it's all these fight or flight hormones going through your body and not allowing you to get ready for sleep. And then just going in with a general mindfulness practice. I often hear, and this is one that I think every single day is I have to get more done, or I have to do this, I have to do that. My mind doesn't stop racing, and I hear this really on at least a daily basis, more than once a day, and it's take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes. I mean, before we got on this call this morning, I was already doing like I've been practicing the alternate nostril breathing that showed you guys a video of. I do my Tai Chi. That's talking about like a bedtime routine before. So I come outside and over this way a little bit. I have a tree, get barefoot, and I do my Tai Chi. That again show you with in another video there. And I do that at least a half hour every night. Now, I've been doing it for a few years, so I've really had to build up to that. And it doesn't mean that you have to go out, no, I have to set aside another half hour. No, take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes to just be present. And don't worry about what it is that you think about. Just think about your breathing. Just relax, lay down, sit up, go for a small walk. It can even just be as simple as that, but just something that it's, all right, nothing else, no distractions, and trying to let your mind go wherever it goes. If it's racing for 5 minutes and then you just go back to your whatever you're doing, fine, let it race. But you just be awareness of what you're thinking about when it's racing. So is it thinking about what you have to get done tomorrow? Is it what the kids are going to be doing tonight? Is it whatever it is, whatever you have going on at work? Just think about that and then just bring it back. Think about your breathing again. So it's just that very calm awareness, but making sure the biggest thing with this, set aside the time to do it. If the time's not set aside, and again, might be early morning, might be late at night. I think those are actually both good times to do it, but then maybe if you can get in like at a lunchtime thing or whatever works for you, setting that time aside is going to just do wonders for your body with achieving a better state of overall health. So that will help with your nutrition. That will help with your movement. Will help with your sleep. Help with your stress management, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think the apps that you listed are a good introduction to it. So, Headspace, that's one of the apps that I used to get started into it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very front loaded, right? So it's very difficult to do in the beginning if you've never done it
Yes.
before. And I'm sure there's people that are listening to this. They're like, "Oh, yeah, I've heard about that meditation stuff. Is that for monks? It seems kind of silly." And I'll tell you that universally, go talk to the most successful person you know, and they have some kind of mindfulness practice. Like it's
Oh,
not like
that's a base.
80%.
Yeah.
It's not, like 90%. It's 100% of people that are super successful, in business or in whatever they're doing, not, making millions of dollars, but just successful in life. Like they have some kind of mindfulness practice. So, I mean, I've been
Successful
doing
and
it
happy.
for,
I think that's a big thing too.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've
Just that
been,
overall well-being.
yeah, for sure. If you just want to be a successful human, then you should start doing some kind of mindfulness practice. And in the beginning, I did the Headspace one. I thought it was just something that really worked for me, so I kept doing it. And it was 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes a day. So if you can, if you not if you can, you need to find 10 minutes a day just to kind of start it, and then you can branch out from there into whatever kind of practice you want to do. But just getting it started, I think, is important. I think this is a good opportunity to do that. So we talked a little bit about when you go out and do Tai Chi, you go barefoot on the earth. And
Yes.
when the weather permits, I always coach my soccer teams barefoot, and the girls kind of think I'm weird, and they asked me. They said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm earthing." And then they had a bunch of questions about that. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
So this is a great point. Earthing and earthing. You see actually like these earthing mats now coming out and all of this, but all it is just kind of getting that energy from the earth. What it does is it helps change the electrons flow in your body. Basically resets it to what it normally should be because we want to be in tune with the earth. That's what our bodies are meant to do, and it helps to reset that a little bit. So just that getting barefoot is critical for it because most shoes, unless they're made of a non-synthetic fiber, don't conduct that energy through them. And getting your feet in grass, getting your feet in dirt, like if you're a gardener, getting your feet in on rocks, any of these things really allows you to pull that energy and really get that transfer electrons to, again, calm the body, just regulate it, set it to its natural state. It doesn't, and talking about like even just the finding a mindfulness practice of some sort, it doesn't have to be a lot. Doing it for 5 minutes, just letting your body, hey, recharge, reconnect, and you can be really ready to go. And that's why I just like to, hey, I'll be out with the dogs today. Like we'll be walking around the yard doing stuff. Hey, just doing it then. Anytime you can find to be barefoot, it's going to be a great thing for your foot health and joint health as well. But this is just from an energy standpoint, from a stress reduction or a good stress standpoint. It's going to help you get those good stressors in a very simple manner.
Yeah, I think it's funny. When I started doing it a while ago, I started to realize how little time I spend, and most people spend, with their feet on the ground, with
Yeah.
just their feet on the ground. I mean, you get out of bed, you get ready for work, you drive in a car, you typically are working inside. Most people are working inside. You come home, you hang out in the living room. I mean, if unless you make an effort to do it, think about it. I mean, you spend very little time with your feet on the earth,
Right.
and people might think it's a little goofy, but when you go out and do it, like you feel differently when you come back inside. Like your body just feels differently, and if you can
Yeah.
open your mind to the effects of that, I think that's another huge thing that is a great benefit of the program.
And
So
the combination, if you can do like your mindfulness practice, if you can kind of combine that, now you're saving a little bit of time for yourself, but you're also amplifying the effects of both at the same time.
right. So let's talk a little bit more about the primary stressor worksheet and maybe
Yeah.
about finding an accountability partner.
So primary stressor worksheet. Don't focus on all of your stressors all at once. Again, we all have them. We all have to deal with them. So pick the one, and that's why I listed like kind of the major examples of each of them. Find your biggest one first of all. It's probably something that's pretty simple for most people to do. It's just at least identifying that. Now, doing something about it, that's where the worksheet comes into play. So I also linked to something that I wrote there on goal setting then as well, because this can really tie in with some goal setting or just how to almost get some things done a little bit more easily. But setting some concrete things that you're going to do about that primary stressor. And if it's, we've done the nutrition. So if it's setting a goal about your nutrition, that can be one way to identify it. And the accountability partner is really kind of what amplifies it then. So if I talked to Travis and I said to him, hey, I want to change my nutrition, and it's still, you know what, the grains are maybe the hardest part for me. I would set that I'm going to have 0 grains for the week of, and maybe it's this week, and set that as, hey, this is my goal. But I'm going to tell him that, and I'm going to have a set check-in time. Maybe on Friday at noon, I'm going to check in with Travis and see what I've done since that to that point. And this way I can say, hey, Travis, I didn't do anything at that point. So I have that goal in mind. I know that I have to report to him on that too. So making sure that that's doing that. But other steps that you would have taken in there, you know what? What am I going to do to address this? I'm going to eliminate all the greens from my house so that they're not around. I'm going to make sure that I know what I'm making for dinner every night this week so that I don't want to get a quick fix of just, oh, maybe I'll make some pasta tonight because I just didn't have anything else. So maybe making 3 or 4 things for that primary stressor, and then telling your accountability partner, and then also knowing when you're going to talk to your accountability partner about that so that it's not just, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that again. But there's nothing set in stone. There's nobody for you to talk to if you have questions. Or, again, you can ask other people questions, but it's having that one person knowing that you can get help from them is a really great way to make sure that you accomplish that and help to decrease that stressor in your life.
Yeah, and some accountability. There's tons of books that you can get on it, and there's tons of people that have talked about it. The most powerful accountability thing that I've ever seen. I heard someone giving a talk on it, and they said write a check to your accountability partner and make it like a meaningful amount of money, and say that if I don't come through on what I said I was going to do, then you get to cash the check and do the same thing. The other partner does the same thing. So keeping people, accountable is tough. It's hard to be like, I'm going to do that. If there's some kind of penalty involved with it, then it kind of helps. So that's something I've used with a couple different people that I work with. So you might want to try to use that. So, what comes next? So we're now kind of wrapping up, working into the last 2 weeks of the program. What can people expect in terms of moving forward with the program that we've built here?
So keep an eye out in your email. That's the first thing. We're going to send out a couple questionnaires, couple quizzes to see really what you guys. We've gotten some feedback as far as some programs going forward. So we're going to be designing those, but we want to still tailor them a little bit more towards what you need. And that's where the quizzes are going to come into play to find which of the programs upcoming are going to be really the best for you. So do you need to go into a little bit more on nutrition? Do you need to go into a little bit more on movement, on sleep, on stress? And that's what this is going to, the quizzes will allow you to determine, to really see what it is that best suits you. And we're going to design these because, again, these were just very basic programs, but you can see what happens with just basic programs. Like, there have been amazing results that people are having, and they kind of want more of that. And that's what we want to continue that, because talking about like an accountability partner here, we want to just keep that ball rolling, making sure that you are able to make those changes, make sure they are lasting changes, and seeing what it is that you need the most. That's what we want to really be able to offer you.
Okay, so everybody that is listening to this, just make sure you keep an eye out on your email this week. You're going to get some quizzes, and that will give us more information in terms of what kind of programming we want to go into. Because Nick and I have been talking about how we can kind of build this out, and we have almost an unlimited different programs and directions we can go, but we want to try to get the most what's going to be most effective for you guys. So getting that feedback from everybody that's listening to this is going to be really important. So Nick, anything else, any other advice you want to give people for the next 2 weeks in terms of moving into sleep, mindfulness, and stress reduction?
Biggest thing, really, don't stress over stress and
Yeah.
mindfulness. Like, I think one of the things you said, if the mindfulness seems hard, it is, because you probably never took that time to relax for yourself. So don't worry about it. Just ease into it. If making some of the sleep changes seem hard, well, they can be challenging if you've ingrained in your body staying up late, watching TV. So again, don't get stressed out if you stay up a half hour late one night. It's not the end of the world. Just move on next night. Get to bed on your normal time, or whatever it is with any of these things.
All right, sounds good. Guys, if you have any questions for us, remember to put them on the Facebook page or email us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.